Good evening and welcome to another episode of Agapay Tatak Rosa Rosal, where we'll be talking about different medical concerns and medical problems. And actually today is a very, very special day for me because we will be tackling something that is very close, well, to my heart. And I grew up actually fearing this thing. And we will be talking about hair loss. And of course, with me is not just any doctor. He is, for me, the best doctor in this side of town. So I'd like to introduce to you Dr. Rafael Fortus, the Medical Director of Clinique de Paris. Good evening, Doc. Thank you so much for taking time out to join me on this program.
Good evening, Will, and thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, Doc, thank you very much. You know, there's a lot. I know that hair loss is, it's a very expansive topic, and there's so many people doing it. But before we get into that, can you tell us a little about what hair loss is and what causes it?
Absolutely. So hair loss, the medical term is actually alopecia.
Alopecia, okay.
So alopecia actually has many different types. So you can have alopecia that's genetic, which is the most common. You can have alopecia that's from other causes like stress, and occasionally also from medications or medical illness as well.
So it's really very broad.
Absolutely. And so here in the Philippines and internationally as well, we know that about 60% of men will experience hair loss at some point in their life.
Maybe even more. Some are losing it actually younger. To be honest, many of my high school friends don't even have any more hair. And I mean, they look different. It changes the whole landscape of everything. Even if you're fit and so many things, there's stuff that's different. So I guess it's really important to address, right?
Yeah, so hair can be sometimes the first thing we notice when we get up in the morning, but also the last thing we try to fix before we go and face the world. So hair is more than just what grows out of your head. It can be really a part of a person's identity. So when it falls, so too can a person's sense of self, sense of
confidence, right? That's very true, because for me, you know, when I started experiencing hair loss a little bit I think in my mid-20s, and knowing that genetics, you know, on my father's side, my grandfather didn't really have much hair. I think I remember him looking more like Mr. Magoo than anything else. So I mean, you know, it's really something that I was very insecure with, because at that time growing up, maybe I was just starting university at that time, and hair loss is something that is, I think, perceived to have no real cure. You can only manage, or you can intervene. But as far as cure, it is, you know, like a big question mark. So I was very insecure about that. Is that true, Doc, about that?
I mean, the insecurity, of course, plays on a lot of young men and women's mind. And the genetics of hair loss can actually skip a generation.
Oh, I see.
So it's not always what your father had. Sometimes it's the wider family. So the old myth is that it comes from your mother's side, but now we can stop blaming our mothers.
Yes,
and
it can come from anywhere, really. It
That's right.
depends on what gene you activated when you were born.
That's right. So there's actually a combination of genetics that help to decide how much or if you lose hair at all. So it is really a luck of the draw. But thankfully, there are lots of medical treatments that have evolved in the last
through the years, right? So would you say we are better off with combating hair loss now than when I was young?
I think we have the luxury of our generation that we can choose.
Okay.
If we lose hair at all and by how much, versus our parents' generation where your destiny was really just your DNA.
Yes, and wear a wig.
Exactly
right? Or wear a wig.
The old style where you had the comb over.
Yes, you grow a certain part. I had teachers like that, and then when the wind blew, oh no, it was a disaster.
So I mean, everybody.
When I was that age, I was saying, no, this is really unacceptable because I mean, it's making it look it's already bad and you're making it look ridiculous. So Doc, going back to hair loss, at what age usually do people, especially men, because it's more prevalent in men, right? If you do the scales, I know women go thinning, but it's not like totally bald.
Not the same, correct. So in our experience and with the scientific studies, about 20% of 20-year-olds, 30% of 30-year-olds, and 40% by age 40 is the rough estimate of how many men will experience alopecia. And by and large, the vast majority of those will be genetic, which is kind of your inheritance of the genes to have alopecia. But there are lots of treatments that can help as well. So starting with some really, really simple ones like topical serums, but also medical grade treatments that you can have in a clinic. But it's always important to start with the medical consultation,
right,
of course.
That's the first thing. And of course, since you did say that it was genetic or it is genetic, Doc, so there must be some hormonal factor here, right?
That's right. So for men, 90% of alopecia is genetic.
Okay.
And then the other small minority, so the 10%, can be from hormones, medicines, even medical treatments like chemotherapy. Hormones like your thyroid can contribute. And of course, a lifestyle, so the amount of stress that you have. Cigarette smoking can also contribute. But these are the 10% that is less common than genetics.
And usually this 10% cannot actually make somebody go bald. I mean, it can like density and stuff, but not enough to totally wipe out a whole.
Yes, except in some extreme cases, but you're absolutely right.
Okay, Doc, so basically most men or all kids, all male kids start out with a very nice head of hair. Well, at least 90% again. So what happens between the ages? I mean, in a genetic, let's say in a genetic setting, genetic predisposition, what causes the hair to sort of weaken or fall off within this time?
Correct. So hair loss is mostly genetic, and this is caused by a hormone actually, which is like testosterone, but I call it the evil twin. Okay. So it's a dihydrotestosterone or DHT. And DHT is a hormone that attacks the follicles and makes them small and eventually shed.
Oh,
and that's a genetic component where the amount of DHT you have and how sensitive you are to DHT really depends on your family.
Okay, so that's where the genetic part comes in. On how, because so I guess all males have this DHT, but whether your hair will die because of it or will be affected because of it rather is dependent also on the hair's resilience.
Right. So DHT and testosterone are excellent for the male body in lots of ways. The bone density, the muscle structure, libido.
I didn't know that.
And mood also.
So it's good for for some aspects of the body, like for example, if you're a bodybuilder, usually people with a lot of testosterone
and DHT,
have, and in DHT have a nice build, easy bulk up, but then the hair.
That's right. So hair can become of the side effect.
Okay.
But it's not the general rule. So
Right,
some
right.
Olympic athletes will have a beautiful physique but will not lose their hair. And also people with high blood DHT will also maintain their hair too. So one of the main treatments we have is to block the DHT.
Right, okay.
But not in the whole body. We really try to do it selectively for the scalp.
That's very interesting and very precise. So we are only blocking DHT where it does damage and
That's
where
correct,
it does
yeah.
harm. Okay, now can you tell us a little bit, in the Philippines, I know many people are actually losing their hair, and that's why you guys started Clinique de Paris, because I know, starting when I would when I would actually pinch hit for my grand aunt, I would always ask for hair specialists, because and I've seen, of course I will not name anymore, but so many different doctors throughout the years, but I know that Clinique de Paris has something totally different, right? And what is this technology that we are doing now?
So at Clinique de Paris, we're a French-Filipino company. We're Filipino by heart.
And how did you what inspired you guys to start?
Well, we saw that hair loss is something that's so important and so personal and so crucial to a person's identity. And we saw lots of dermatologists that were looking after the skin and body. But hair loss is often a forgotten corner of people's overall appearance and their first impression.
Which is very important, because honestly, no matter how many rhinoplasties you do, right? I mean, if you do not have a good head of hair, how do you frame all of these good things that you do to your face?
Yeah.
That's true.
And so we decided to specialize in a niche of hair restoration, and I trained in Australia with all of my medical training, but also in Paris. So between the managing director and my partner, we set up the clinic called Clinique de Paris in Makati.
Right.
And now we welcome patients from all around the Philippines as well as all around the world. So we're very lucky with the team that we have.
And now you have become the forefront in hair solutions. So, during the time that I know that the Philippines wanted to be a big player in medical tourism, you guys have actually, crossed that line, and many people are coming here for that alone. What makes it, and of course I know that the clinic is beautiful, the staff is, the service is incredible. So how did you, and you haven't been around for too long. I mean, it's not like, you guys are organic, actually relatively new, but you've already overtook many of the others, if not all. So what is the secret to success here?
Well, at the heart of what we do is, of course, the service, but also making sure that the excellent service matches excellent results. So our core treatment is a DHI, which is direct hair implantation.
Okay. Please tell us a little bit about DHI and how is it different? Because I know that there are many different types of hair transplants, right? Starting with the traditional one, which is FUT. Before we go to DHI, can you tell us a little bit about FUT first? This is way back in the 70s, 80s, right?
Absolutely. So, like all things in medicine, there's an evolution.
Yes, right. Evolution.
And the first technique was called FUT.
Okay. And how do we do FUT?
FUT, so all hair is permanent at the back.
Okay. So when you say permanent at the back and here, these are DHT
resistant or immune.
Yeah. So if you get this and you put it here, it's not going to die of the same reasons.
That's right.
They have superpowers. Something like that,
yes,
in layman's terms.
That's right. We don't know why, but we know it's true.
Okay.
Always at the back of the head, the hairs are immune to DHT. So that's why the baldest person you know always has hair at the back.
That's true. They always have hair. There's always this strip that always remains forever.
And it's also why any hair transplant technique takes hair from the back and places them in the front. But there are different techniques.
Okay, so FUT is the first, right? And this is, how do we do this?
FUT, they take a flap of skin at the back and they sew it up, which can leave some patients with a scar.
So you cut it. It's basically cutting that skin.
That was the old style.
The
That's
old style.
Correct.
Okay.
And then the second generation was the plugs, which was very popular in the US, where they take plugs from the back of the scalp, but then implant the plugs at the front. However,
the plugs is clumps, basically.
Clumps of
the very Barbie doll. This is the one that looks like the Barbie doll and Ken type of hair transplant. So they take clumps and then they transfer them.
Implant the plugs, but the problem is they still look like plugs.
Right. They don't look natural. That was the point.
Right.
But do they live? They do.
They can survive equally
They can survive. Okay. So that's the second one. The third is...
And the latest iteration and the latest innovation in hair restoration is direct hair implantation, or DHI.
Okay.
Where we take the hairs individually under local anesthetic, so 0 out of 10 pain, and then place those permanent hairs into the hairline in a natural way.
That is incredible. See, I'm glad we just sort of like gave a little teaser there, because we're going to go back to DHI in depth when we return. We're going to take a short break because I'm going to just tease them a little bit so that our viewers stay interested. Agapay Tatak Rosa Rosal will be right back, and we will be talking about real solutions to hair loss. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
The 2025 was a meaningful year for Bingo Plus Foundation. As our purpose grew, it was time for a new chapter. Introducing DigiPlus Foundation.
Education is the bridge to opportunities. Through the Future Smart program, we empower learners and educators nationwide. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply learning for a better future.
Healthcare should come with no barriers. Kalusugan Plus delivers medical missions, and Embrace Plus mental health support, which empower every Filipino through compassionate and accessible healthcare. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply healing. One patient, one community at a time.
Every dream deserves a chance. In Wish Plus, we grant wishes, empowering individuals, families, and communities together with their partners. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply hope, dignity, and possibilities.
Disasters don't wait. Through the Bayanihan Plus program, we mobilize immediate response and recovery efforts. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply the spirit of Bayanihan across the nation.
DigiPlus Foundation is committed to delivering on our promise to bring help within everyone's reach. When support becomes accessible, impact doesn't just grow, it multiplies.
Madali pa mag-cash in sa Bingo Plus?
Sa Bingo Plus,
Official partner na namin ng Bayad Center. Easy!
license ba yun ng popcorn? Sa Bingo Plus,
Kaya responsible gaming lagi.
ang fun!
Gaming? Na may insurance?
Sa Bingo Plus,
Sa PhilFirst, insured ang wallet mo ng 1 million pesos.
Safe nga! Talaga namang...
sa Bingo Plus,
Partnered with Bayad Center, licensed by PAGCOR, protected by PhilFirst.
sa Bingo Plus.
The best players succeed because they set boundaries. Every great athlete wins with control. Always have a game plan.
Ako po si George Bandola. Ako po ang host ng Walang Bola Puro Tama. Ano ba ang Walang Bola Puro Tama? Ito po ay punong-puno ng mga balita, mga mapagkakatiwalaang balita, at syempre mga komentaryo o pag-aanalisa sa mga isyung may kinalaman ng taong bayan. Definitely, Definitely. Makakapulot po kayo ng mga magagandang komentaryo dito, mga magagandang pananaw patungkol sa mga bagay-bagay, sa mga nakakaapekto o sa mga isyung nakakaapekto sa buhay ni Juan de la Cruz. At syempre, ng ating mga nanay, di ba? Hindi rin po namin nakakalimutan na bigyan kayo ng mga viral na mga balita. Kung meron man, meron kami mga sagap sa mga nakikita natin sa mga social media o sa iba-iba pa. At definitely, ito po yung mga dapat ninyong abangan palagi mula po dito sa amin sa D8TV at D8TV News. Ang Walang Bola Puro Tama po, mapapanood nyo tuwing Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 9 ng umaga hanggang alas 11 ng umaga. 2 oras na mga balita at masayang komentaryo. Definitely, mag-e-enjoy kayo. Again, Walang Bola, Puro Tama with yours truly, George Bandola, sa D8TV at D8TV News.
Welcome back to Agapay Tatak Rosa Rosal, and still talking about solutions to hair loss. And when before we went on Gap, Dr. Raf was talking about DHI, which is direct hair implant, and we went on break there. So I'll give you back to him to tell you more about this new technology and new method of hair restoration. So take it away now.
So DHI, or direct hair implantation, is the third generation and the latest technique in hair restoration.
Okay.
So while the old styles would take a strip or a clump from the back and place it on the front, now with DHI, it's one at a time, so tiki-sa-isa, and then you implant them under local anesthetic, and that allows the doctor, who is also the artist, to have full control over the procedure. And that's what creates the most natural looking hairlines and the most highest density of all of the hair transplants that came before.
So it's not only more natural, but it's also higher density. So that means every graft that we remove has a stronger chance of survival.
That's absolutely right.
Okay, and how is this? Because we sort of just remove them individually, so they do not disrupt anything else. Is that why?
So when we take the hairs from the back under local anesthetic, we have a mathematical proportion to make sure that we don't over-extract. And then when we implant, again, we use the mathematical grid to have the most natural direction and density and design, because the design depends on the person's gender and face and ethnicity also.
Right, so it's just like, let's go back. Why I always keep going back to the rhinoplasty. You cannot have, let's say, it just doesn't match. It doesn't look natural if you have very Asian, let's say very Malay features, and then all of a sudden you will have a Roman nose. Hindi siya bagay. So same with the implantation of the hair follicles. We will also match the shape of the face, the age of the patient, right? And the features. Is that correct?
That's correct. So one of our guiding philosophies at Clinique de Paris is that for aesthetic medicine and cosmetic surgery, natural equals nice.
Okay.
In fact, a good hair transplant shouldn't look like a hair transplant, just like a good rhinoplasty shouldn't look too obvious also.
Right.
There should be...
So basically, it's all about restoration. That's the operative word. We sort of bring back how you used to look, your hairline, before you even lost it. So it's the same direction and the same look.
I think that's the right thought.
But not many people think that way. They just think, okay, let's put a bunch of hairs here, and plant them here and let them grow, and then how? Because sometimes if you don't do it properly, then you have like a weird part, right? Some are going in the left and the right, and then it gets kind of a little bit difficult to style.
Right. So the technique of the implantation is super important. So for men, for example, we create a masculine hairline that has a slight lift on the side versus a feminine hairline which tends to be more rounded and drape the facial features in a soft way. So the doctor has to decide where the part is depending on where the swirl, or in Tagalog, the puyo is.
The puyo, right.
To identify the direction of the hair, the design based on the proportions.
Wow, so there are a lot of factors to consider, Doc, right?
Yeah.
Incredible. So it's really all about creativity and actually putting, this thing on the canvas, which is a scalp.
That's right. And then in the end, we're not looking to change who you are or to change your appearance. We're just looking to restore what you had and to bring back your full potential of what your hair can be.
Okay. And because of this, you said there's over 90% survival rate.
Yeah.
Okay. How long does the procedure take? Let's say I decided to take to go through the process. So I know that there are some screening things that we do, right?
Of course. So all medical consultations start with a diagnosis from a
Okay.
professional. So our team and our doctors will take a look at the scalp,
Right.
take a look at the medical history and the medications to make sure that you're a good surgical candidate.
Okay.
And not everybody is.
Oh.
So like all things in medicine, you have to be fit for the surgery and you have to be at the right stage and age to undergo a procedure. The procedure itself is relatively simple. It takes about 6 to 8 hours where you're in touch and talking to the doctor. And importantly, we don't use a general anesthetic. It's a local
Okay,
anesthetic.
so it's very safe. You know, that's
Very
very
safe.
safe. You don't go to sleep, nothing. You will just numb out in the areas that are needed, right?
Yes.
And they also, the effect also, after the procedure, it's also gone, right? So you've got a little bit more normal
Yeah.
within the same day.
Local anesthetic is much better than general because it is safer and quicker, and so immediately after the transplant the patient can get up, eat, drink, walk and talk, and so the patient can be discharged on the same day as
Right.
well.
So local anesthesia will only target the areas that we're doing. Unlike general anesthesia, they sort of like encroach into the other organs, other parts that are not have no involvement in what we're doing, right? Okay. And okay, so that's about 6 to 8 hours. That's the extraction and the transplantation, right? What about the total process from the implants until the full effect? Plus, Doc, I think more importantly, our viewers would like to know of how to do the post-care because that's what they're scared of.
course.
It's they're scared that, of course, since this is maybe they just planted the hairs. What if it falls off? How do we take care of it? You know, and all of that.
So the procedure again is quite simple. So we do local extraction under local anesthetic, which takes a few hours, and then we break for a lunch meal, which is provided by our butler service in-house, and then the implantation is done on the same day by the same doctor.
Okay.
So the whole day is achieved by one doctor and a nursing team to give them full control over the final result.
Okay.
The procedure itself takes 1 day, but that's not the end of our journey with
Right,
the patient.
right,
In fact, it's just
exactly.
the beginning of at least a 12-month journey of transformation and growth.
Okay.
So
12
in
months.
that 12 months, there's a recovery with a bandage for 1 day, and we show them how to spray and look after the follicles.
Actually, you give them a whole kit, right, to take care. So there's no reason that they can't do it at home.
That's right. Yeah, so we try to make it as easy as possible for our patients for a smooth and a seamless procedure as well.
Okay. What are the critical days? I mean, from let's say the time that the transplantation is done, how many days would you say that it's a little bit critical before you can go back to work, you can start doing the same things?
A really important consideration when undergoing is how much downtime.
Right,
So
yes.
one of the big myths is that we have to shave the head. And thankfully, with DHI, we don't have to shave,
Oh, okay,
which
yes.
makes it a lot more discreet for both our male and female patients.
Okay, so what do? We just sort of like shave certain parts. So I know you guys also have a hairstylist to do this, right? To see what is the best way to shape. It's like a haircut for the procedure.
Yes, so we shave the back and we shave the sides and blend it very well. And then we use the short hairs to implant into the areas of concern. But we don't have to shave the top, which means that you can go back to the office or back to sport quite quickly.
Oh, okay. Even sports, you can go back quite quickly.
In general, after the swelling, which is about 3 to 4 days and very painless, most patients can return to the office and do a board meeting or back to golf within 7 days.
1 week, that's not bad.
Yeah. And then back to full exercise, including contact sports, martial arts, in 14 days.
So basically, it's just really a 1 to 2 week period.
Yes.
After the second week, we just, adjust.
And that's
amazing.
great because there are no stitches or sutures to be removed. So patients can recover at home in peace, or they can return to their country of origin in as little as 2 days.
Okay, and I think one of the important things, because maybe just listening to it, we're doing direct hair implantation. So that's piece by piece. So it's also the wounds are also going to heal very fast because they're very small. Whether unlike if you get a strip or if you get clumps, these are gonna look more sore. I mean bigger wounds,
That's right? So the moment you breach the skin, the smaller the wound, the faster the recovery, and less chance of infection or scarring.
Okay, speaking of scarring, so we're removing hair from the back and the sides, right? These hairs don't grow anymore, right?
Yeah.
So when we remove them, they're generally gone. So it's just like they relocated, they moved from one city to another. I mean, in simple terms. So we also do a pattern that it won't look obvious, right?
Yeah. So whenever we're doing a hair transplant, we have to consider how many hairs are in the back.
Okay.
And then take a mathematical proportion to avoid over-harvesting the donor zone. When we take those, the hairs at the back actually are more layered, like a roof tile or like a fish scale.
Okay, right. And it's not grown really long. So there's a way of in architecture, there's a way of styling it, right? Or designing it so that it will still look natural.
Yeah, so then when we take that smaller proportion and place that into the hairline or the crown, then not only do they remain forever because they're immune,
right.
But then we can rebalance the proportion of the areas that are affected.
Okay. Doc, what about maintenance? Okay, so we've talked about downtime, so the most is 2 weeks, and then the rest is we wait to grow our hair. What about maintenance? I think one of the most important things that people don't understand is they think after getting a hair transplant, it's like a miracle, like you wave the magic wand and then, you're going to start growing hair like weeds. It's not, right? There is a maintenance, and we have to understand that it's also a process of keeping our hairs healthy, not just the implanted ones, the transplanted ones, but also the ones that were there that were subject to being lost in the first place, correct?
Yeah. So as you know, as we all know, alopecia is actually a progressive condition.
It's age, sort of like the older you get, right?
It can
progressive.
Continue, that's right. So it's almost like a filling up a leaking bucket. Before you add more, you should also fix the leaks. And so we use a lot of prevention, a lot of treatments to boost the hairs that are already there, and then added treatments to make sure that the transplanted hairs, which will continue forever, but stay as healthy as possible.
I see. So these are what you would say is the moving forward, what we have to do to maintain and take care of our hair in general, not just the implanted ones, but also the native hairs, so we call it, right?
And that means that if the native hairs are there for longer, then even if you progress, you're less likely to have gaps, and you get to enjoy the full potential of your hair for a lot longer. It's like buying a sports car. You still have to change the oil, do some maintenance, and look after it from time to time.
Even building a new house, after 3 months, you're going to have to clean the gutters because, your trees have, and if it rains, it's still gonna leak, right? So it's not like a miracle thing, like after you do it, wala na. Syempre, you have kailangan alagaan yan. So, Doc, from the time you transplant, like you said, it's a 12-month journey. So after the 12th month, would you say that is already the optimum results?
Yeah, so in general, with the DHI technique, we have a recovery of two weeks, a seedling phase, which we call the shedding phase for the first 3 months, and then a middle 3 months where you have rapid growth, and the final result is 9 to 12 months, where the length, the texture, and the final result become apparent.
Okay. When can you have a haircut after the hair transplant? At what month?
Yeah, very easy. So we can do a haircut in as little as 2 to 4 weeks. You can swim in the ocean in 2 weeks. You're considered dermatologically healed. Your skin is completely healed by the 2-week mark, so you can return to contact sports.
You can even swim and stuff like that.
You can wear a helmet. You can do whatever you like at that point.
So it's amazing. It's not really all that bad with the way people make it. Yeah.
And in fact, we encourage our patients to return to exercise at the 1 week point, because not only is exercise good for your whole body, we're still doctors, but two, we still have to get a little bit of sweat. And that sweat helps to improve the circulation.
And to help it grow.
And help with the growth.
And to anchor it in its proper place, because sweat also promotes healing.
Yes, and
that's true.
Well, more that the sweat is a normal skin function, and that helps the new grafts to settle into their new place.
Okay, so I guess we have a lot of things going on, and we will be taking a quick break, and after we come from our break, we will be talking about the future of hair and some of the other things that we need to do to maintain, and what maybe is in store for us in Clinique de Paris, because I know we have a lot of things, not only just hair, but about taking care of your body, your skin, and a whole bunch. So there's no excuse to look unattractive when we return. So don't go away. Agapay Tatak Rosa Rosal will be right back after these few important reminders.
The 2025 was a meaningful year for Bingo Plus Foundation. As our purpose grew, it was time for a new chapter. Introducing DigiPlus Foundation.
Education is the bridge to opportunities. Through the Future Smart program, we empower learners and educators nationwide. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply learning for a better future.
Healthcare should come with no barriers. Kalusugan Plus delivers medical missions and Embrace Plus mental health support, which empower every Filipino through compassionate and accessible healthcare. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply healing. One patient, one community at a time.
Every dream deserves a chance. In Wish Plus, we grant wishes, empowering individuals, families, and communities together with their partners. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply hope, dignity, and possibilities.
Disasters don't wait. Through the Bayanihan Plus program, we mobilize immediate response and recovery efforts. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply the spirit of Bayanihan across the nation.
DigiPlus Foundation is committed to delivering on our promise to bring help within everyone's reach. When support becomes accessible, impact doesn't just grow, it multiplies.
Madaling pa ba mag-cash in sa Bingo Plus?
Sa Bingo Plus.
Official partner na namin ng Bayad Center. Easy!
License ba yun ng Pagkor? Sa Bingo Plus.
Kaya responsible gaming lagi.
Ang fun!
Gaming? Na may insurance?
Sa Bingo Plus.
Sa PhilFirst, insured ang wallet mo ng 1 million pesos.
Safe nga! Talaga namang...
Sa Bingo Plus.
Partnered with Bayad Center, licensed by Pagcor, protected by PhilFirst.
Sa Bingo Plus.
The best players succeed because they set boundaries. Every great athlete wins with control. Always have a game plan.
Every Thursday, we celebrate women who redefine what it means to have it all. Tonight's guest is a true force of nature, a corporate executive, TV host, university professor, and even a farmer. She has tripled revenues for airlines and led financial institutions, all while raising 5 children as a solo mother. Mia, your life story kasi is a masterclass in transformation. From the boardrooms of Melbourne to the halls of Benilde, you've built a legacy of resilience. Let's talk about the journey, no?
Okay.
You've been described as a leader defined by transformation. When you walk into a struggling company, what is the first thing you look to transform?
When I joined the company, suddenly I checked the financials of the company because my role is really sales, marketing, laging ganon on that field.
Okay.
So it's always revenue driven. So when I look at the financials of the company, that's where I started thinking, what can I do? Okay? After that, I check also the manpower because it has to be complementing with each other. So I don't just dive into the organization. I study it very well, and I try to apply the expertise I got from my previous jobs. Syempre yung experience that natutunan mo dun sa mga previous companies, yun eh. So I study it carefully, and I listen to people. It's not always about me. It's like not always about me trying to solve the whole problem.
Yes.
It has to be a group effort.
Yes.
I should listen to everyone.
Yes.
So at least if I started joining them, I know where to put my expertise. And it's a group effort. So I try to listen to everybody. And then from there, let's talk about business. Let's talk about how can we grow the company.
Mia, you've done a lot, no? You've been into tourism, hotels, airlines, farming. What's next for you? You've been also a professor. Ang dami mo nang ginawa, honestly, di ba? Pag initignan ko nga di ba? What's next? Ano pa bang dream mo?
Welcome back to Agapay Tatak Rosa Rosal, and we are still with our special guest, Dr. Rafael Fortus, of course, the medical director of Clinique de Paris in Makati. And Doc, we were talking about the future, just before we went into to our third gap, about the future of hair and maybe even skin, and what Clinique de Paris has in store for our patients. What does the future look like?
Well, I'm very excited about the future. I think the future is bright here in the Philippines. I think we're
the Philippines in general, right?
I think we're perfectly positioned to have excellent aesthetic treatments that will rival our competitors like in Bangkok and Korea and also in Turkey. The Philippines have some of the best nurses and doctors in the world and some of the warmest hospitality.
Which is what makes a difference, right? Because in other countries, they may have the skill, but they don't have the aftercare support.
The malasakit of the Filipinos.
Malasakit. Right. Yes.
One of our best talents. And in terms of hair restoration, the future is also bright. There are lots of technologies looking into this space to figure out how we can grow more hair. So some scientists in different countries are looking at gene therapies. For example, there's a gene therapy looking at to reverse white hair back to black.
Really?
Yes.
So I don't need to color my hair anymore. When my hair goes gray, it looks like a dog with mange because it's not even. So it's all clumpy and it doesn't look dirty. So there's actually something that's being studied for that.
Yes. So hair melanin and looking at the triggers that switch it on and now off, and also for hair restoration. So biotechnologies like exosomes are now emerging into the market as a real way to grow back hair. That's not just a medicine, but actually a medical grade treatment that you apply to the scalp, stimulate the stem cells at the bulb of every follicle, and allow the hair to reach the full potential that they otherwise don't have.
I see. Wow. Okay.
And our final element is stem cells and cloning.
Okay. So stem cells. We start. I've heard of this being done to people who want to look young or who want to keep their cells living longer, correct? Therefore, generating a longer life. So that can happen also on our scalp.
So stem cells can be an umbrella term, but in more specifically, the cells that help to stimulate growth and growth factors that are safe for the hair and scalp will be the future of hair restoration and skin rejuvenation here in the Philippines.
I see. So Clinique de Paris is doing all of this. And I know right now you're already doing the exosomes, the hair exosomes and the platelet
mesotherapy.
PMT, correct?
That's right.
Right. And what does PMT do? Because you take your own blood and process it for the plasma to be injected back into your body, right?
Yes. So not everyone needs a hair transplant. Some people just want to maintain or improve their hair a little bit, especially making thin hairs thick. And we use a treatment called platelet mesotherapy, where we take 10 mils of your own blood, centrifuge it on site, and remove the plasma, which is rich in growth factors, and place that back onto the scalp painlessly. And these growth factors over time help to thicken thin hair and to grow back hairs where there is none anymore.
It can actually do that. It
Yes.
can actually grow back hair. How is that different from hair exosomes?
Exosomes are a type of growth factor. So while plasma is natural from us and has a wide variety of growth factors, exosomes are just one type.
Okay.
So it's standardized, it is counted in a lab, and it avoids the needle for people who are very
So, but
needle phobic.
it addresses the general same thing, right?
Yes,
it's
they're
just
very
that
much
the plasma is from your own body and is a product, right?
Yes. So I
Okay.
always tell patients there's a hierarchy of treatment where the bottom part of the pyramid is your prevention, so topical serums and lifestyle. The middle part is your medical grade treatments like your plasma and your exosomes. And at the top of that pyramid, we have hair transplant
Right.
for candidates that are suitable.
Right. And of course, once you get your hair transplant, you still have to, I think you have to consider all of the other ones below, because this is what would give your procedure its optimum,
Yes.
actually optimum effect, right? Because since you already went through 1 year of growing your transplanted hair, you might as well care for it in the best way that you can.
That's right. And our philosophy also is to make it as efficient, as affordable for our patients, to make sure that we're not consuming too much of their busy lifestyles and that we have the best scientific evidence so that they get best bang for their buck, essentially.
Right. Get the most out of your time and money, right? And Doc, what about the skin, some of the other skin treatments that we're coming up with? I understand there's also quite a bit, things that people are talking about.
Yeah, this is a huge space. And once patients have their dream hairline,
Okay,
they can
yes.
start to consider different parts of the face, and it's all very normal.
Which will all actually work together, right?
Yeah. I think 20 years ago there was no skin care for men, and 30 years ago there was no gym for men either. But now men are giving themselves permission to give the best first impression they can.
Right, yes. Because you only get one chance to actually make a really good first impression. And if you're getting up there in age, one of the best compliments is to somebody to say that it really doesn't show, because that's really a big, I think it's a big achievement, because age is the only thing you really can't combat. I mean, it will happen. It's whether whether it treats you well or it doesn't. It happens, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, we can't stop age. We're not looking to reverse time, but the impact of simple things like sun on our skin and the hydration that we give it don't have to be expensive, but there are simple ways that men can give the skin the best chance to look its best.
Okay, and this is also sort of like something called a lunchtime procedure, right? It's not invasive, so there isn't too much downtime.
Yeah.
So how long usually, and what are some of these treatments?
So apart from sunscreen every day, which I recommend, and a moisturizer every day, we have excellent treatments that we've seen from conferences around the world and brought back to the Philippines. Including the salmon DNA treatment, where injections are made across the face to allow thin, dry skin to rejuvenate at a cellular level. And of course, the skin has different layers. So if you start at the deeper layer to create structure with dermal fillers, for example, and then the middle layer is the muscles which move and animate the face. If you relax those, that can contribute to your youthfulness. And finally, the surface level, which is like the salmon DNA treatment, as well as topical mesotherapy and even exosomes.
Okay, and all of this is designed to enhance how you already look, right? Unlike other clinics that are gonna, because I see a lot of people who like eyebrows everywhere and stuff. So what we do is we just enhance what's already there to sort of make you look better, but not really to alter what you look like.
I think the guiding philosophy at Clinique de Paris is natural equals nice, and a treatment shouldn't look like a treatment, but the beauty of a face can come in just the symmetry.
Yes.
And just looking.
And that's very important. Symmetry is very important because it creates balance.
Yes. And the American style of cosmetics can be overfilled and overdone. And here in Asia, we're really looking at maintaining the facial structure, improving the quality of skin, and just restoring balance in a very subtle but effective way.
And we sort of like study each individual before we do. So even if we do the same treatment for several people, it will be administered in a different way, right?
I think what I love about cosmetic and aesthetic medicine is it's really the blending of medicine and art.
Right.
So you have to have the hand as well as the eye, and your goal for the patient should match theirs.
Right.
Otherwise, if that mismatch is there, then we haven't achieved what we want.
So basically, again, with the skincare, you talk to the patients on what they want to achieve, and based on what you see, what the problem areas are, and actually sort of like compromise.
Create a plan.
Create a plan.
Yeah.
But usually, how permanent are these new treatments?
So skincare often requires repeat treatments, sometimes once or even twice a year, compared to hair transplants, which is lifelong as long as you maintain the existing hairs, because the implanted hairs are DHT, immune to hair loss, and so those implanted or transplanted hairs should stay there for the rest of your life, and that's the beauty of a DHI hair transplant.
Okay, and Doc, I mean, I know this is also a popular question for many people, because let's say a patient had a hair transplant gone wrong, for example. Is it possible to repair this at Clinique de Paris?
Yeah, so at Clinique de Paris, we're starting to become experts not just in male and female hair transplants.
Female also,
but
right?
also hair restoration, in hair transplant repair.
Okay.
Not just from around the Philippines, but even from Turkey, where sometimes we see hairlines that are too straight or too perfect or too plug-like, or the proportions are not symmetrical. And we're getting very, very good at repairing the hairline to make it look feathered and natural, but still dense again.
So it's sort of like filling in the gaps,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And how many times can a person do, for example, to achieve everything? Is it usually just one transplant, or do some people do it in installment?
In general, all of the hairs will stay there for the rest of your life. So sometimes when patients come early, they'll only need a small procedure now, but we will not exhaust the donor zone, so they can have another one in future.
So in other words, if they feel they're getting older and then something that they'd like to see more, we can enhance it again.
And we prefer that approach of doing a smaller procedure that they can enjoy in the prime of their life, rather than waiting so late where the skin and the body may not tolerate a long and big procedure.
Right, and that's what people, even medically, many people wait until the very late stages already, where there's only so much you can do. You might as well start young, start adjusting where people will not even know it, right? And then stay looking good for a longer length of time.
So hair is no different to any other part of medicine, where prevention is better than a cure.
Right, that's true.
Early stages are better than late stages, and the younger, healthier you are, the better your results.
Okay, so the younger you are, and also the easier it is to heal, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so Doc, at this time, would you like to give any personal messages to our viewers, and also where they can visit you in Clinique de Paris, maybe the phone numbers, contact numbers, or your social media pages?
If you have any questions about hair loss, or if you or someone you know is experiencing hair thinning, feel free to reach out to us at cliniquedeparis.com, or you can find us on Instagram or Facebook as well.
Okay. And you're open, and your address is where? In Makati, right?
Yeah, so we're based on Ayala Avenue, at a penthouse on Ayala Avenue. We're open 7 days a week, and we actually offer free consultations because we want to reduce the barrier and the stigma of hair loss, and we're happy to answer questions about how we can help you and your hair as well.
Okay, so 7 days a week, there is no excuse not to be able to get that consultation and start the journey to a better a better you and give you more confidence and self-esteem. That's very important because I feel when you're confident, when you're happy with yourself, you generally churn out better results at work, in your business, in your relationships, and etc., etc., etc. Correct?
I agree.
Okay, so thank you very much. Dr. Rafael Fortus, the Medical Director of Clinique de Paris, thank you very much for joining us today, and I hope we were able to give you another informative episode here on Agapay Tatak Rosa Rosal. Until next time, saying goodbye for now. See you again next week, everyone, and have a nice evening. Thank you. Okay.
Bubusugin ang inyong umaga